Hey, Ben Lawrence. All right, so
How's it happening?
how's it happening, my friend? And there was an answer to this, but neither Ben and I can remember what the stock answer for how's it happening is. Ben, today I want to do a little bit of product placement. There is a
Okay.
there is a place called Aldi, which is a grocery store. You may be familiar with it,
I'm familiar.
and they sell right now these. Can you see that, Ben?
Looks like a popsicle? A
Yeah,
pinkish kind?
can you see what it says on it?
I cannot read it.
It says PEZ. These are Pez popsicles, Ben.
Pezsicles.
And so Pez is a candy that Ben and I both have had in our lives. They're they're small, chalky things about this shape, but usually they're only about this big.
They're
You
very
can
tiny. Yeah.
on the podcast you can see the about the size of an SD card. Uh, for no, an
Smaller
SD
than an
card is
SD card.
bigger. What am I thinking of? An SD card for a phone,
A SIM card.
a SIM card. Thank you, SIM card. So now, and they have a very specific taste. The candy itself is kind of chalky,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that's how the popsicle is going to be. So I'm
Kind of
going to
like
try it
a
right now.
Tums.
Ooh,
Chalky ice cream, though. That's like
hmm,
that was a positive sound you made, so I'm guessing they don't
yeah,
taste too bad. Lee.
they don't taste bad at all. I would say that it doesn't necessarily taste like Pez at all. It's the same shape,
That might be for the best.
but it's not. So in general, popsicles uh, are largely fruit flavored. Most of the time, no dairy in them. These have dairy in them, so it tastes more like ice cream, more like an ice cream than a sherbet. I would say that this tastes like. Imagine, if you will, there was another novelty, an ice cream novelty on a stick um, that they have, which are dipped in chocolate and then ice cream.
Yeah.
Imagine there's a strawberry flavored one of those. And that's what these taste like. Very good. Positive.
I don't know what the weather is like out there in central Illinois, but I'm guessing you are also part of the heat wave that is breaking across the nation. So having a popsicle might be kind of refreshing right now.
Yes, it is too hot. I will
Yeah.
say that for sure. Um, we went to the DMV today to register our new car. We bought our car in Missouri. It's in Illinois, so we had to register it and pay taxes on
Yep.
it.
Why did you buy it in Missouri?
So we got that taken care of. That's where they were selling it. This is a specific car that Jennifer wanted,
Is this the
um,
orange?
like a
You
very.
told me to get an orange Prius
Mhm.
or something.
It's an orange Prius. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she saw it, she liked it, and there was not a comparable car
Yeah.
in Illinois. So for taxes, we paid, I think it was like 500 something, 570,
That sounds like a lot.
and then for it is a lot, and then we you also have to register license plates, which is like $300.
Yeah.
But we spent extra because Jennifer wanted a vanity license plate. I will not be saying what the vanity license plate is on the podcast.
Tell me what
I
it
do
is
not
after.
have.
Tell me what it is after the show.
Oh yeah,
I'm curious.
definitely. We will for sure discuss the name of the car, which is what I mean. A vanity license plate. To keep it real, that you're just naming.
Your
You're
name
putting
of
a
the
name
car.
tag on the car.
Yeah.
And the thing that I was like, well, it's a little expensive, but I was like okay with it because for me, I would then not forget the license plate, which I normally do.
Yeah.
So as mentioned, I'm going to do taste tests of things. It's only a
Oh,
two,
there are more
a two.
things.
Actually, you know what? There are more things. And you know what? I'm going to do taste tests of things that I've already tried. Um, I'm just going to tell you about them. So these are fox nuts.
Fox nuts. Deep fox nuts. Check out Deep Nuts.
Yeah, Deep is the name of the company. Oh, geez. Okay, so you can see it there.
Yeah.
So it's a white, vaguely spherical item. The way to think about it is this: like if you are eating popcorn,
Sort of a
right? There's
macadamia
that kind
nut, it
of
looks like.
macadamia nut size. But if you eat popcorn, there's that sort of center, sort of circular white piece of the popcorn, and then there's some like little pieces that are sticking out of that. If that makes sense, like there's in popcorn there's a circular bit or spherical bit that's all white stuff, right? And then underneath that is sort of the brownish remnants of the seed,
Yeah.
and
The kernel
underneath
skin.
that are some, yeah. So the white stuff on top of it, that's what these are. These are the fox nuts are actually lotus seeds. They're also called popped lotus seeds.
All right.
These are peppers. So what I would do when I was a kid, imagine this were a piece of popcorn. I would bite off the remnants of the shell and all the little pieces underneath that remnants of the shell, leaving only the spherical popcorn piece left. And then I would eat that spherical popcorn piece.
This doesn't surprise me at all.
It's a little bit of, oh, because of how I eat things in
Yes.
general.
Like, you
Could
are.
you elaborate for the audience, Ben?
When you eat pizza, what you do is something I have not seen anybody else do. You take a fork and you scrape off the topping. Eat that separately. And then I don't know if you pick up what's left of the crust and eat it with your hands or if you use a fork as well, but is this still how you eat pizza?
Okay, so here's the thing. Sort of. But I've I've been called out so many times for eating pizza in that manner that I have developed a second method. And this is what it is I will bite the pizza, right?
Yeah.
Only biting the topping off first and leaving just a little section of the crust. And then I will eat the crust, and then I'll complete that. So that unless you're paying really close attention to me, you don't see that I'm separating when I eat the cheese from when I eat the crust. But I'm still doing it.
Right.
I'm just breaking it up into little pieces.
You're being covert about it.
Okay. Sriracha flavored peas, Ben.
Sriracha flavored peas.
This can, right? It's from Hoppy, Hapi. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I pronounce it. And they are, Hoppy is famous for making wasabi peas. I don't know if you've had those, but
I have not, but I know of them.
I like the sriracha ones better. I still like the wasabi peas, but they taste like they're almost fried. They're crunchy and they're spicy and they're just a little bit sweet. I like them a lot. Going on to the next one. You can hardly even see it. So this is popcorn from a place called Chef Shop, and this is called Extra Chicago.
Extra
Now,
Chicago.
Chicago pizza The pizza. Wow. Don't get me started. Chicago popcorn. Let's see if you can see this. It's caramel and cheddar together,
Okay.
right? So they have at this place extra cheddar, which is cheddar but with more of the powder
Yeah.
and a higher butter content, and extra caramel, which is the same thing like extra butter, extra caramel stuff.
All in
So
the
extra
same
Chicago,
piece of popcorn, or is it mixed all together?
yeah, it's mixed all together.
Okay.
So you got your cheddar, you've got your caramel,
Yeah.
and it's all that. Very good.
They do like their
Um,
popcorn in Chicago. I know that when I fly through Chicago, there is a dedicated popcorn stand.
yep. So looking forward to that. This is uh, a snack from India. I don't know how to pronounce it,
Butter muruku.
but it's rice flour, graham flour, and palm oil and butter, basically. Sesame and cardamom as well. The thing about it is that it's like a cracker kind of, right? Also sort of like a snack chip. And it's got these really interesting kind of trying to find the camera. These
Yeah.
interesting ridges kind of thing. You see how they're
Yeah.
like that? Also good.
So you just have like a bevy of snacks there by your by on your desk.
Yep, exactly. These are Biggs sizzling bacon sunflower seeds. I don't know if you've ever had these, but they're larger than other sunflower seeds, like David's and things like that. Mm, like that,
Can't
and they
tell the
have
scale.
a distinctly bacony taste,
And you eat the whole thing,
which is
shell and all.
no, 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 no. I put it in my mouth to taste the flavor, and then I bite it in half, and I pull out the seed,
Yeah.
eat the seed, discard the shell, and another bag that I have, basically. So that's pretty good, also. And then I'm almost done, Ben.
Take your time.
I have Jordan almonds. Now there are two types of Jordan almonds. One that's a betrayal, and one that's normal. Normally, what I expect. The Jordan almonds that are a betrayal are the ones that have the skin still on them. The ones that I like are the ones that have that are blanched. So they're just the almond, none of the wooden skin on them.
Yeah.
I say wooden, but you know what I'm talking about. So they come like this. They're candy on the outside.
Yeah.
And then what I do, I'm not going to do it on the podcast because it's maybe a little disgusting, but I put it in my mouth and I treat it like a hard candy until the candy shell is like paper thin,
Yeah.
right? And then I bite it, eat the candy shell off of it, and then I eat the almond underneath. When it's got the skin on it, it's no fun. It's not good because it doesn't slide off as easy.
I do
And
not
then you have
like
the skin to deal with.
I do not like coated almonds when it's got like a candy shell like that. During Christmas, you'll find these almonds. I don't know what they're called. Maybe they're also Jordan almonds, but they have this like silvery skin on them. I don't know if they're
okay.
supposed to be like festive or whatnot. It's a really hard candy, and it actually hurts my teeth. But flavored almonds. There's this this smokehouse flavored almond that.
Oh yeah, I know about those.
Those are really really. In fact, I have some in the office just behind me. They're really tasty.
Yeah, And they have their own almond thins that they put out,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and the smokehouse almond thins are the best.
yeah.
Okay, this is Turkish Delight.
Sounds like a
Um,
coffee.
and basically, this is normally they're bigger than this, but this is what I've got right now. It's
Yeah.
got some sort of either powdered sugar or flour on the outside of it.
Is it a chewy thing? A chewy candy?
It is a chewy thing. You know those fruits that like look like orange slices, for example.
The
They got kind
fruits?
of granulated sugar on the outside. That's
Okay.
right, candy.
Yeah.
Candy that look. They aren't gummy. They're like a precursor to gummy. They're kind of
Yeah.
soft though. It's like that.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Soft, not quite
But
chewy, but also maybe like a little bit grainy.
yep, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes. And finally, Ben, the last thing that I have, it's a drink.
Sparkle
This is
Starburst flavor? God.
Starburst cherry flavor. Now, I had the Starburst strawberry flavor, and it tasted enough like it that I was like, okay, I'll agree with the branding. Um, so I'm gonna try this one now. And I'll be drinking this throughout the podcast, but I think that's the end of what I've got.
You had paused, like you froze right after taking the drinks.
Oh,
So it looked like you were just sitting in contemplation about the flavor for an extended period of time.
oh, well, hold on. I'll do that for real now.
Tell me what
That's
sort of
pretty good.
notes does it have in the nose?
Well, okay, this is what I'll say is that it's sugar free, right? So there is that sort of chemically sugar free taste to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're gonna go with Starburst, if that's gonna be your flavor,
You commit to
do
that.
you need it to be sugar free? I mean, you're getting after the candy people, kind
Yeah.
of. And here's the thing: I wonder if you hadn't tasted Starburst for a while because you'd given up sugar. Maybe this would be good.
Yeah, you're probably not gonna. I mean, why buy a sugar-free drink that's Starburst flavored?
Right. Exactly. But well, I did, and I'll tell you why. Because
It
I was
was
like, oh, it's Starburst.
it was the only one
So
available.
yeah. Oh, I have one more kind of secret thing. You notice that I'm wearing overalls, Ben?
I am now.
Uh, but look at what kind of overalls I'm wearing.
Hey, it looks like a Cookie Monster.
It is Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster, Ben. Something I can get behind. Cookies is a sometimes food Cookie Monster. I don't know if I'm like as big on it, but
Yeah.
what you gonna do?
I watched a documentary last night called Jim Henson Idea Man. That is, as you may
Oh,
expect, a documentary on Jim Henson, which is quite lovely.
yes, I've heard of it. I've heard of it. I haven't seen it yet, so that's good to know.
It's on Disney Plus.
Um,
There's early
yeah,
footage of a prototype Cookie Monster, where he was doing a commercial. The Muppets did a lot of commercials in their early days, and this footage,
yep,
this version of Cookie Monster, he had sharp, pointy teeth lining his mouth. It was actually quite disturbing. Because the thing about the Cookie
interesting.
Monster is he doesn't have visible teeth. Unlike Dr.
Hmm.
Teeth, who does have visible teeth. Cookie Monster does not have teeth. He gums his cookies, but quite ferociously,
Right.
so it works for him.
I mean, something that I think you and I both probably noticed as children was that Cookie Monster wasn't actually eating the cookies; they were just
Yeah,
falling out of his mouth.
exactly.
Um, which was kind of weird, but Oh, one of the other things I'll note.
As kids, I don't think you were ever like, you know, they're Muppets, right? You know, Cookie Monster's not actually eating the cookies. Like, I don't think seeing the cookies fall out of his mouth kind of ruined any illusion for like a 7-year-old watching Sesame Street.
This would be one of those situations where I would be like, search the audio for this, because I think I know that you and I talked about this personally. I think we might have even talked about it on the podcast. About how Spider-Man, when I was a kid, actually made me understand the multiverse, which is why Spider-Man Into the Multiverse is really kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Do you remember this conversation at all?
I do not.
So it's about continuities and separate continuities.
Yeah.
And what I think that if we did talk about it, we talked about it the same thing where, okay, so you and I, right? Whenever somebody complains about casting in a film, like, oh, I can't believe they cast so-and-so as this.
Right.
You know, that's not who this character is or whatever. You and I don't get concerned about it. We don't worry about it. And we talked about this at one point in time. The reason is because of our theater background. You get different people playing different characters all the time.
Yeah.
You know, a different director directs, like, you know, you see sometimes 3 Hamlets in a year from different theater places. And
I was in
different things about it.
I was in a production in college where we had 5 different people playing Hamlet.
Exactly. So from that background, it's not as precious to us who plays, you know, whom. And I think that in the same way, Spider-Man, when I was a kid, right, you had Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which was a cartoon. Spider-Man, Firestar, and Iceman kind of hung out together.
Yeah.
There was an old syndicated Spider-Man live-action movie or TV show. It was a TV show, which in fact I wrote a sketch kind of based on one of those episodes that I remember vaguely when I was a kid. So Spider-Man was investigating. This is just a side note. Spider-Man was investigating this guy who was a bad guy, and he hypnotized Peter Parker, who had come to talk to him as a reporter.
Yeah.
And the guy hypnotized him and said, "You're going to forget that you were ever here." And then, you know, it just went on from there, and a typical thing. But I, as a kid, latched onto that. I'm like, well, he'd just show right back up and be very apologetic that he was late if he forgot that he was ever there.
Yep.
And so I wrote that sketch. For I think it was Up in Your Grill. What was Mike Daisy's sketch comedy group?
You're right, Up in Your Grill.
Yeah, I wrote it specifically, and this is actually a precursor to Let's Throw a Fish at Joseph, because Up in Your Grill was doing a thing, like Josh Nisley was in it as well, and I forget exactly who else. A bunch of sketch comedy people were there. But the idea was that the audience was submitting scripts, and then Up in Your Grill was going to do those scripts.
All right.
And I wrote one, and I said, it has to be Mike Daisy who does this. And he was a guy who loved fish and, like, rubbed fish all over himself. But a different guy played him, and they used a stuffed fish. So it wasn't...
Oh, you wanted it to be a real fish.
Yeah.
That Mike Daisy would actually rub all over himself.
Yeah, but they didn't do that.
And they didn't do it for some reason.
Yeah. And there were these kids who were the junior fish inspectors, and he made them forget that they ever came here, and then they showed up again right away. We're sorry we're late, mister. We don't know what happened. So there's that. There's the comic book Spider-Man that was going on. I'm jumping back now.
Yeah.
Comic book Spider-Man. And then in the comic book Spider-Man, there is also a different continuity where Spider-Man was using Hostess Twinkies to subdue his enemies. You know, so you have all these different versions of Spider-Man.
Many Spiders-Men.
and different timelines. So because of that, it never really messed with me when stuff went away from canon, because one canon is not necessarily the same thing, except for Highlander 2, which I'm still mad about. I don't think I'll ever forgive it.
I've heard this about Highlander too, like it retroactively
From
destroys.
me,
Yeah,
from me
probably.
mostly.
And I think McCandless also holds that opinion.
Oh, well, that's good because he's right.
Possibly.
Anyway, so yeah, the oh, okay. So let's talk about Ben.
Let's
Ben's
talk
gonna
about
guess the
Ben.
news,
Yeah.
or actually, Paul's gonna guess the news because I don't know too much about it.
Oh, okay.
Um, do we talk about? Did the debate already happen?
It happened the day
Uh,
before. Yeah,
the day before.
we talked
So
about it.
so I didn't see it. Still haven't seen it. But what I have seen, and this is why it's. I guess this is Ben clarify the news for Paul, right? Because I don't watch the news as much anymore. I get all of my news now from Reddit, which you can imagine is like it's not unbiased; it's all biased
It's
from a whole bunch of different people.
yeah, but
So,
it leans left, so you're not like it's not the Drudge Report, but you're
well, it depends. It depends on the places you hang out, Ben. For instance,
are
public
you
freakout.
at R conservative and R the
No,
Donald?
but public freakout skews has been skewing right lately. Um, so
It's
that's
not one
weird.
of the. I don't subscribe to that one, so I don't see it. I don't see what's posted there.
So, but anyway, so this is the thing. This is my question. Is there actually a movement to get Joe Biden off of the ballot as the Democratic nominee, or is that just hyperbole slash wishful thinking?
I have no idea. Like, and at a certain point, it doesn't really matter because Biden himself has says he's staying in the race. But there are a number of um, instances where I've heard Democratic leadership, certain members of the Democratic leadership, strongly suggesting that Biden step down. The New York Times, this was odd. The New York Times had an op-ed where they supported Biden stepping down, but at no point did the New York Times ask Trump to step out of the race when he was convicted. So a lot of people are kind of up in arms. Like a lot of people are like, I don't want to say they're canceling their New York Times subscriptions, but people are upset. Liberals are upset with the old gray lady.
So, okay, here's something that I have thought about in the past regarding like that, for instance, some other things. So, like, okay, there was a there was a Pride march that got protested by anti-Zionist protesters. Particularly, there was a sign that says "No Pride in Genocide," and the thing that I saw with that was a commentator who was like, "Okay, these people are either an FBI plant or they're really stupid."
The ones holding
Uh,
the no pride in genocide sign?
yeah, yeah, because it kind of discredits that movement a
Yeah.
little bit, and because and the idea being, who are you who are you winning over in that case? Who are you trying to sway?
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Well, I was thinking about it. Back, I think this might have been in the Occupy Wall Street times. There was a big deal, and I think that you remember this too, where protesters shut down um, a section of highway near the university
You're going to have to be
that
more specific.
happened that happened to be the only route that ambulances had to get to the children's hospital. Is that familiar to you?
Is
Do
that
you
here
remember
in
that?
Seattle?
Yeah, in Seattle.
So I don't know about the Occupy Wall Street because that was what 2008. That was during the housing
Yeah,
crisis, right?
it might not have been
There.
Occupy Wall Street.
So back in 2020, when we were having the protests regarding the George Floyd murder,
Uh,
there were a lot of highway blocking protests. But I do recall there being instances where they, as a group, let ambulances pass.
yeah,
The protesters, at least in Seattle, I can't speak to Portland or Berkeley or wherever else,
yeah.
all across the country, how ambulances were blocked from getting sick kids to the hospital. But there were
The
instances in
one
Seattle of them cooperating with emergency services.
the one that I remember distinctly, and it was when I was there. It was when I was in Seattle. So it might have been Occupy Wall Street. It might have been another thing.
Yeah.
But there was a huge like online thing of who are you? You're not winning anyone over. You're making people mad at you, et cetera, about that. So it
Happens
sounds
all the
like
time, yeah.
at least in the 2021 lesson learned and things.
Well, I'm not saying that's a blanket statement, right? I'm sure there were some emergency services who were blocked from getting to where they needed to go because of protests on the highway, or just on any city street. I'm sure that happened.
So I guess the way that I would talk about this, and the reason I brought it up, it kind of goes to something that Jennifer said in the past, which is that the idea that some people have been saying that, oh, the FBI has infiltrated these protests and they're doing things like this to discredit them,
Yeah.
right? Her point is it's much better to think that this group is being discredited by a smart, organized, dystopian agency than just think that these people who are protesting something that I actually agree
Yeah.
with, that they're protesting on my behalf theoretically, are doing stupid things.
Right. Well, I
And
mean,
they're just
what's that say? What's that phrase? A person is smart, people are stupid.
right. So getting all of that to be said, getting into the idea. So the concept of, for instance, the New York Times trying to talk to Biden about dropping out, right?
Yeah.
The idea is, at least in some liberal camps, that the reason it looks like liberals are always, doing a circular firing squad thing, or we're always,
They're very good at destroying their own. I hear you.
destroying our own,
Yeah.
is because we don't think that the other party is going to listen to us at all. And so we just focus on ourselves because we know that at least we'll listen. Right? And there will be some sort of it's an internal fight, but it's a fight where you may sway somebody's opinion.
It's also, yeah, you're right. It is frustrating too because you have, the left, you have liberals. I don't want to say all liberals, like radicals definitely don't fall under this umbrella, but Democrats for sure will eat their own as an example to prove to their base that they follow the rules, that they have morals and ethics and standards, where the other side is complacent with having none. And so it's not like a fair fight. It's not like you're gonna win over independence because my ethics are better than that person's. When we it goes back to the whole like Al Franken thing, right? So many Republican senators have done far worse things. I'm not saying what Franken did was okay, but so many Republican senators have done far worse things and have been promoted, reelected, given a pass, whereas the Democrats destroyed the political career of like an up and coming progressive.
Yeah. I mean, and
pretty popular one at that too.
well, an effective one. That was the other thing. I mean, if
Yeah.
you watched the, but again, it's one of those things. So like Neil Gaiman right now
Yeah, I heard about that.
is having some things that people have pointed out that the places that are publicizing this maybe aren't all that great. That they might have agendas as well. But the
Sure.
thing is, and this is where it goes in with Al Franken as well, is that I mean, if you are going to hold people to standards, right? Then then sometimes that's going to happen. Sometimes your favorite is going to get knocked out. The difference is that there are places that don't hold those standards, like you were saying. So, like, there are things that happened, a lot of things that happened during the 2016 election, things that came out that would have stopped somebody's political career.
Yeah.
What's the famous one?
Howard Dean yelling.
Howard Dean just said "yeah" in a way that made people
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So we're past that now. And what we don't see yet, and I don't know if we'll ever see it, because I mean, part of the culture of the left is like, I've seen people make fun of this thing that's been going around where someone's giving somebody else a haircut and says, "Is it okay if I touch you?" Like, they ask for consent. Can I touch you? And the
Yeah.
people who are making fun of it are like, haha, how else are you going to cut their hair? This is stupid.
Yeah.
But the idea is that, that question and that space isn't for you. You know, it's somebody who is saying to someone, and the person who has the problem is going into this barber, understanding that they're going to get their haircut and that they're going to be touched probably and all that, but still asking, "Is it okay if I touch you?" is like, okay, get ready, because now it's happening for real.
Yeah.
It might just be because I'm, going through OCD therapy and stuff like that, but they check in with you when you're doing that kind of stuff. Like, okay, like if I'm making this up, but let's say that you're afraid of mollusks, right? And they're like, okay, now I have a mollusk here. I'm about to show it to you. Are you ready? Yes. Okay. What's your stress level at? Oh, I'm at a 7 out of 10. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna lift the curtain. Like they check in with you before they do
Yeah.
something.
I haven't seen this meme. The reaction is not surprising, but I'm wondering if this is based on a real interaction, if the person getting the haircut had some sort of sensory issue.
Right. Exactly. Well,
And
that's what almost everybody who gives them the benefit of the doubt is guessing that that's what it is.
yeah.
And it seems like a real person that's doing. They show this the the barber with several different clients and everything like that. So it seems like a real deal. Um, but the reason I was mentioning that is I was trying to think, like, okay, I think I've got one. Baltimore director John Waters. Okay, so like if John Waters, I'm making this. I'm trying to find someone on the left that I could do this thought experiment with. Um, Somebody says, like John Waters runs for mayor of Baltimore, right? And someone says, we searched John Waters' house and found gay pornography. Anyone who votes for John Waters for mayor isn't going to be shocked, isn't going to say, "Oh no," all that.
Yeah.
But if it were Mike Pence, it'd be a different story, right?
Yeah. Of
So,
course.
so we generally, right, don't have, "Oh, I'm doing this just to troll people." in our back pockets as a strategy for doing political things. Vermin Supreme for libertarians, yes. You know, that's if I were voting for Vermin Supreme, that's like, who knows what he's really going to do when he gets in office, but we know that he is a massive troll, right? And that is, at least for some people, Donald Trump is the fun candidate because people are going to get mad when I vote him into office. This is
Yeah.
what they think. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
That guy at work who's too sensitive about, what I post in my
Well,
cubicle is going to get mad, so
that's
I'm going to do that.
that's like the whole voting ideology of certain voters is just
Mm-hmm.
trolling the other side.
Yep, exactly. And so that's, I think if we ever were to get to a place where that would be okay, the left might have some interesting moves, but we're not there.
Yeah.
Right now, we are definitely in a purity test kind of situation, and like Patton Oswalt, for a while, was getting um, flack for not being liberal enough. Things like that.
Yeah. That's not
Um,
surprising.
and and it's true. I mean, here's the thing: it's a moving target. There's that Overton window
Yeah.
and everything, and so yeah. I mean, like I would think, I would have thought that Louis C.K. might have been one of those people who could basically do whatever, gross stuff, and people wouldn't bat an eye and be like, well, that's kind of who he is. Um, but what I would have neglected to note is that um, it is, yeah, that's who he is. Uh, but that didn't make it okay, if that makes sense. Like yes, people were able to view that and say, yes, this fits in with the character that he has shown us,
Yeah.
but that didn't make it all right. Whereas, the general idea of, well, you know, I told you I was a snake, why are you surprised? Like whenever that people do with, like, yeah, he cheated on his taxes. He told you that he was going to cheat on his taxes. That
Yeah.
sort of thing
Yeah.
is fine. They, you know, people can people can write that off and say and be like, I am okay still with this person being in charge. And we don't have that necessarily on our side.
No. Well, our
I'm still
we
putting
we
yeah, go
do,
ahead.
we don't vote for the people who are punish and hate the same people that we hate. It's not part of our platform.
Yeah. The idea, at least on paper, is that we're doing this for everybody.
Yeah.
That we want a good example, Social Security. We want everybody to have it. It's not like
Regardless of your ideology.
yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, who knows? Who knows, Ben? And I do.
Who knows, Ben?
Who knows, Ben? Who really knows? Oh,
Nobody.
have I told
Very
you about this
purposefully.
this idea? Uh, so Betty and I talk about Mario every once in a while and all that, and the thing that we came up with just recently was he's looking pensively in the mirror. He's taken off his hat. His hair's kind of rumpled, and he's looking, and he says, "Who's a me, Mario?"
Yeah.
Which I think is really great. Introspection.
I have the same sort of reaction when I see a dog sort of like staring off into space and it's thinking, everybody asks who's a good girl. Nobody ever asks how's a good girl.
Oh man, that's good. That's good as well. Um, oh hey, speaking of things, speaking of the great segue,
Speaking
gotta
of
admit,
other things,
um,
unrelated to what we're talking about,
have you been watching The Boys this season?
I have not, but I hear it's fantastic and very relevant.
Yeah, yeah. There was something I wanted to talk about, but I don't want to talk about it if you haven't
I have not seen
seen
it.
it. So
You
I'm
know
just
what?
gonna,
By this point next week, I probably will have seen it.
yeah. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
What have you been watching?
I'm watching The Bear. I'm about halfway through season 3 of The
Oh,
Bear.
Ben, I've watched all of The Bear. Can I? This is something we can talk about without any spoilers.
Yeah.
Um, I was talking to somebody about The Bear, and for me, it's a great show, right?
Yeah.
But it's a good example of how plot isn't necessarily as interesting to watch as as good technicals. The shot composition,
Yeah.
editing, music, and all that, and great acting.
Yeah.
Just like, I mean, you don't separate the writing from that, but The Bear is one of the things where it wouldn't have to be about food. It wouldn't have to be about a chef, right? It's not a genre picture. It's a style picture, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And
For me.
I've heard that season 3 is getting a lot of flack from viewers. I don't. So the thing about season 3 is like there's one episode in particular.
Have you seen it yet? The episode you're about to talk about?
Yes, that's
Okay.
why I'm talking about it because I have
Yeah.
seen it. But it's called Doors. It's like it's like a montage of just like service in the restaurant.
Yeah.
And it's very good at like it's good at storytelling, but it's not so good at character development, right? And I see a lot of people complaining about the season 3 that they're basically like the characters aren't all it is F word and tension and yelling. And this episode I think falls into that because we don't really learn anything new about any of the characters. I mean, they all just kind of like behave the way we expect them to. But it's still a riveting, 30 minutes of television because it is so good. Like, I've never worked in a restaurant. My palms were sweaty at the end of that because I'm
Yeah.
just so, like, brought into the story and invested in what is going on.
And the way that they play with time is really interesting in this, how they move. One honorable mention to a guy who would know you, probably recognize you, Joel McHale.
Oh yeah. He does appear in his few scenes.
He was unrecognizable to me in the first 2 seasons.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
I pegged him immediately.
Yeah, no. Hey, wait.
Hey.
Hold on. No, but it was really interesting. I was like, wait a second,
Yeah.
is that? And I think part of it is because he was playing such, like the guy he was playing, and I mean this in the best way possible, was empty.
He's playing against type, and I think they did a really good job of casting him because he can play that manipulative jerk really, really well. But in his career, now granted, I've not seen everything he's done, but he's basically the goofball in things that he's in. And so seeing him play that sort of like hard chef who is just, teaches by insult is against type for him. And like like his hair is different than what we're normally seeing. He's wearing glasses and all that. They've kind of
Yeah.
messed with his look, but yeah, it is fun seeing him in these like little flashbacks that Carmi has in season 3.
There was a TV show that I'm actually going to look up. We like to keep it wrong here, where we don't actually look stuff up, specifically because of my own problems. So here's what I'm going
Ruthless
to talk you through it.
devotion to looking things up.
I'm looking up first. I'm looking up Justified, because I can't remember Timothy Oliphant's name.
In the show?
And I'm clicking on Timothy Oliphant. No, the actor.
Oh, which you just
I
said.
don't remember.
Walton Goggins is it's on my list. It's on Hulu. I haven't started watching it yet.
What, Justified?
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty good. But okay, so the thing I was looking for was Full Circle. There's a show called there's a series called Full Circle, which is really good. I liked it a lot. I didn't rate it. I'm going to rate it now. I think it was a 10. What a good job they did. But in it, there was a guy who played a lawyer, and I couldn't figure out who this guy was. He was a really the lawyer guy. Who's really a smart guy and very like interesting, and I couldn't for the life of me place him. I was like, why haven't I seen this guy in more things? Because he's a really good actor, and I can't believe. And he's a guy named Alex Winter.
Alex Winter. Yeah.
Alex Winter, in his character as a lawyer here, was completely different.
Yeah.
From anything I'd seen him do before. He's very serious, and it kind of it's that and the Joel McHale thing also. Both of those really stuck with me, and I realized that I like seeing funny people playing serious characters. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny. I've heard a bit of commentary about how it's, for whatever reason, audiences are more easily accepting of a comedic actor doing a serious turn than the other way around. Like, you look at Bob Odenkirk doing Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
And Nobody.
And Nobody.
Oh man, Ben, Nobody. Have you seen it recently? I bought it.
I watched it at the first moment it became available, so I probably paid a large amount of money to watch it, like at that first weekend.
I think I paid more, or maybe it was only rentable. But no, I think I have it. But just that bus fight scene.
Yeah.
Was so good.
Bob Odenkirk, you probably know this. When Bob Odenkirk had his heart attack on the set of Better Call Saul, he credits Nobody for saving his life, because throughout the training and the exercise to do that movie, he was in very good shape. So when he had his heart attack, he was in good enough shape to actually survive it.
I have heard. Oh boy. Okay, hey, disclaimer. Don't listen to this podcast for medical advice. But okay, so one of the reasons why I've decided to put on weight, and I'm now, overweight for my height, according to like most people. One of the reasons I decided to do that
Fat Boy
is
Summer.
because, Fat Boy Summer. It's because I have heard that you float better.
Okay.
If you have more weight.
You're more buoyant?
More buoyant?
Well, I guess that makes sense. Muscle is more dense
but also,
than fat.
Number two, Jennifer said that overweight people tend to survive strokes better. Or heart attacks, or something like that. I'll have to check with her to see which is why I said
I'd like to see the papers on that one.
Yeah. So yeah, it was something that she had mentioned. But yeah, the main thing is that it also stabilizes my mood very well.
I mean, if
So
it's
that's also
working for you and you're not feeling any adverse effects, although, I
no.
will be a mom and say, go get a doctor's opinion on all this,
The only
what you're
thing, I
doing.
mean, I went to the doctor. The only thing I haven't done yet is I haven't gotten my blood work. I should get it done, but I haven't. But blood work, sure hope it does. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, have the
Hey,
fish.
have the fish. Oh, speaking about fish, well, no, that's a pagoda. I was gonna say nobody. Like I could see an alternate universe. I could absolutely see an alternate universe where Reverend Jim, come on.
Christopher
Why is
Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd, where Christopher Lloyd plays fish instead of a Vigoda
As Reverend
in
Jim, or.
no, like he plays the
Okay,
same
Barty.
character. Yeah. Um so the thing about Ed Vigoda, the best part about him was that he was the old guy on Barney Miller, and then he just stayed the old guy.
Yeah,
But what I was going to say is Christopher Lloyd is what I was thinking of. Does a great job also in Nobody. He's in that, and he's in a nursing home, but he still like kills three guys or something. You know.
I totally forgot about Christopher Lloyd being a nobody.
Yeah.
I will have to watch it again at some point.
And just recently I watched. Speaking of Better Call Saul, I watched Bill Burr's uh, thing, meltdown, quote unquote, or whatever that he did in Philadelphia.
Oh, the famous where he's just yelling at the audience for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it seems to me that he won them over. He won them over
He did. He
at
got.
the end.
Have you? So, did you actually watch the performance, or did you like
The performance.
listen to his? Because he, I can't remember if it's on his podcast or talk show or whatever, but he talks about why he did that, and it's actually quite fascinating.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's something like they were mean to everybody who was on before him, and by that time he was like, you know what, forget it.
Yeah, and
I'm just gonna.
people like some of the comedians I think didn't even go there full time because this Philly audience was being a Philly audience and just I don't know if they were throwing stuff, but like booed other performers off
Yeah.
stage. So Bill Burr's like, screw it, I don't care. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna do my 10 minutes. I'm just gonna tell them how I feel. And yeah, and he won them back where he was getting cheers and applause. And it's like one of these all day festivals where they've been drinking since lunch.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, well, Ben, we're getting towards the end here.
I have us at
Um,
about a minute, 2 minutes left.
I've got, well, I started before we
Yeah.
started talking. As always, the audience gets to hear, and I know they love it, just a little time with me and them where I talk about how I'm going to call you and mention what year it is.
And
It's
describing what computers are and what they do.
it is July 5th,
July 5th.
2024.
The unofficial first day of summer here in the Northwest.
The day after the Independence Day for the United States of America, where famously we said to Great Britain, no thanks.
We don't need your kings.
We're going to do our own thing now.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, and there we have it, Ben. We're towards the end. So, as always, very nice to talk to you. Can't wait to talk to you some more after these cameras and microphones get shut off. Of course, if you want to hear that, join our Patreon, which does not exist.
So if you
And
find
remember,
it, let us know.
if it does exist, it's an imposter or something horrible has happened.
Unofficial.
All right, Ben.
Paul.
Until I talk to you next time, keep it wrong.
Keep it wrong.